How to prevent stomach cancer. Stomach cancer, also known as gastric cancer, is not extremely common in the United States, but it is more common in other areas of the world, especially Japan and China. There are many risk factors that can lead to stomach cancer, many of which you can control or change. Determine if you have inherent risk factors. There are a number of factors that can put you at risk of stomach cancer. Some are not within your control, while others you can avoid. The risk factors that you have no control over include: a family history of stomach cancer, a genetic predisposition to stomach cancer, inherited genetic conditions, such as hereditary diffuse gastric cancer, HDGC, familial adenomatous polyposis, FAP, Lynch syndrome, Peutz-Jeghers syndrome, or BRCA gene mutations, having type A blood, though the exact reason for this risk is unknown. Limit your exposure to radiation. There are certain situations where you may have been exposed to ionized radiation. This can increase your risk of stomach cancer, especially if the exposure was prolonged or happened numerous times. If you can control your exposure to any radiation, do so. Situations where you may have been exposed to radiation include: radioisotope radiation for thyroid cancer, external beam radiation for Hodgkin disease, being in locations where an atomic bomb has gone off. Protect yourself from carcinogenic chemicals. There are certain jobs that can increase your risk for stomach cancer. Cancer can be caused by working with many different harmful chemicals, such as asbestos, cadmium, radon, benzene, arsenic, vinyl chloride, beryllium, chromium, and nickel compounds. The amount of risk depends on the level of exposure, the amount of time exposed, and the strength of the carcinogen you are exposed to. These jobs include the rubber industry, construction, woodworking, mining, painting, pesticide work, the chemical industry, the dye industry. Check for a history of certain conditions. There are certain conditions, situations, and viruses that may make you more susceptible to stomach cancer. If you have a history of these, you may want to talk to your doctor about the likelihood of stomach cancer. These conditions include previous bacterial infection from the Helicobacter pylori, H. pylori, bacteria, which causes inflammation, ulcers, and precancerous changes in the stomach, gastroesophageal reflux disease, GERD, which is also a risk factor for cancer of the esophagus, pernicious anemia, a decrease in the number of red blood cells that occurs when vitamin B12 cannot be absorbed, chronic atrophic gastritis, which is when the lining of your stomach becomes inflamed, other stomach conditions, including intestinal metaplasia and gastric epithelial dysplasia, history of stomach surgeries such as a partial gastrectomy, which of the removal of part of the stomach, Epstein-Barr virus infection, cystic fibrosis. Learn that there is no one way to prevent stomach cancer. There is no way to 100% prevent stomach cancer. However, the best route to take to prevent stomach cancer is to control the risk factors you can change and keep a check on those that you can't. This means you should discuss any past conditions with your doctor and see what he says about ways to prevent additional damage. Fight obesity. Obesity can increase the risk of cancer developing in the cardia area of your stomach. However, obesity is a risk factor that you can control in most situations. Obesity occurs when you weigh a great deal over what is healthy for your body to handle. You can use diet, exercise, and lifestyle changes to start losing weight. Start out small at first. You will not be able to lose the weight overnight. Exercise more. In order to lose weight and increase your general health, you should increase your physical activity every week. According to the American Cancer Society guidelines, you should work out moderately for 150 minutes a week, or for 75 minutes if you do intense exercise. Break this time up over 3 to 6 days per week. You can add all different kinds of exercise, including walking, running, aerobics, team sports, yoga, weightlifting, tai chi, or any other activity that you enjoy. Stay away from salted products. The recent decline in cases of stomach cancer has been partially attributed to the modern refrigeration practices replacing the mass use of salting and pickling to preserve food. However, there are still plenty of food available that is salted. In order to prevent stomach cancer, you should avoid eating these foods. These foods include beef jerky, cured ham, and other salted meats and fish. You should also avoid pickled foods as well, which have a very large salt content as well. Eat more fruits and vegetables. A change in diet can help you prevent stomach cancer. A diet rich in fruits and vegetables has been shown to lower your risk of stomach cancer. Your goal should be a variety of fresh fruit and vegetables which total at least 2½ cups, or 5 servings, of each a day. Citrus fruits, such as lemons, oranges, and grapefruits, can be especially helpful in lowering the risk. Vegetables should constitute about 50 to 60% of your meals. Avoid processed meats. Processed meats are smoked and typically have nitrates and nitrites in them. Nitrates and nitrites react to certain amino acids and create cancerous cells, which have been linked to stomach cancer. To avoid the possibility of stomach cancer, find lunch meats, sausages, hot dogs, and other meats without nitrates and nitrites in them. Instead, eat fresh fish and poultry. You should limit your red meats, but if you do eat them, make sure they are grass-fed and lean red meats. Stop smoking. Smoking can cause cancer to the section of the stomach closest to the esophagus. It is also responsible for many other types of cancers, accounting for 1/3 of all cancer-related deaths in the United States alone. It can be very hard to stop smoking, but there are many aids to help you. You can try nicotine replacement, shots, medication, support groups, or many other options to help you quit. Know the types of stomach cancer. The most common type of stomach cancer is adenocarcinomas, which is when the cancer attacks the lining, or mucosal layer, of the stomach. This accounts for about 95% of all cases of stomach cancer. More rare forms of cancer include lymphomas, which also affect the lining of the stomach. These account for about 4% of the cases of stomach cancer. The most rare forms of stomach cancer are gastrointestinal stromal tumors, GIST, and carcinoid tumors. Recognize the symptoms of stomach cancer. Stomach cancer, in its early stages, doesn't typically have symptoms. However, more advanced cases of stomach cancer will start to produce symptoms. If you think you may be at risk for stomach cancer, there are some symptoms you can look for. These symptoms include bloated feelings after you eat, feeling full after eating only minimal amounts of food, heartburn or indigestion, nausea. Talk to your doctor. If you experience any of the symptoms of stomach cancer, you may want to see your doctor to see if that is what is going on or some other condition. If you are at high risk of stomach cancer and experience the symptoms, you should definitely see a doctor as soon as you can. If your family has a history of stomach cancer, you may want to keep a check on the condition of your stomach, even if you don't have symptoms.